This video is about storing data, so databases and SQL. Databases are a collection of data, and most databases that we're going to look at are stored in tables. So the columns in a table are called fields and the rows are called records. So if you don't know columns and rows by now, columns are upright, they are what hold a building up, and a row is going across, just like you would row across a river. Okay, so you've got first name, last name, department, payroll number. This is a little example table of a database that could be our staff within our school. So you're looking at the different teachers, what their first name, last name, what department they're in, and what payroll number they are. So that could just be a unique value that's applied to those teachers. There's two types of database that you can have. You can have a flat file database or a relational database. Now a flat file database is when you only have one table in the database and it's got all of the data in it. A relational database is when you combine flat file databases and link them together using primary and foreign keys. Fields and records. A field is used to store a category of information such as a name, age or address, and a record is all of the fields for one complete item. Primary key is a unique identifier so that we can tell records apart. So every relational database should have a primary key. In fact, even a flat file database should really have a primary key so that you can tell the difference between records. A good example of this is if you had a record with cars. So a database full of cars, you'd need some way of telling the difference between two black Ford Focuses, for example. The registration plate is what we use to tell all cars apart from each other. It's unique because no two cars can have the same registration plate. Databases are often created and accessed using SQL. SQL is structured query language. This is used to create, update, and query, as in search for information from a database. It consists of standard commands called statements. You can join statements together to create one big statement that will carry out a number of operations. An example of some of the statements we can use are to create and update. So SQL statements can be used to create a table with fields in, and each field will need a data type. Now if we do a little recap back to the 5 main data types that we use for this course, we will remember that we have integer, real, boolean, character and string. These are the 5 different data types that we can use, and we can use this to create our fields in a database. So if we look at some example SQL code to create and update a table. To create a table, we use the statement create table. We then follow it with the name of the table that you want to use. Within the brackets, we need to set up the different fields and basically give them a data type for each one. So if we want a field called teacher ID, we then say we want it to be integer and we want it to be the primary key. We could then say we want first name and we want that to be text as a data type. Then we want surname and we want that to be text. Then we want date started, we want it to be a date, and we want salary and we want that to be an integer. So one thing you could change there is you could change salary to a float so that you could have decimal numbers rather than whole numbers. Now this whole statement creates a table with 5 fields, and then we can use that table to add information to it. So using the same example, we can look at the SQL to add records into a table. So insert into is the command used to add data into the table. So insert into teachers is going to add information into the table we just created. Then you just put the values in, separated by commas. So this is basically going to add into the table those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values into the 5 fields that we've just created. If we only want to add in certain fields and leave some blank, then you need to specify which field for each one. Updating records. We can use update, we can use set, and we can use where as conditions. So update set where is a command used to update data in a table. The example here is update the table called teachers, set the value surname to Roondog, where teacher ID is 9831. So that will change the surname of Adam Rooney to Roondog. To display data, we can use the command called select from. Now select from will show information from a table. Here's some examples. So select salary from teachers will just display one field from that table. Select surname, comma, last name from teachers will show first name and last name. And if we do select star, this is called a wildcard. So select star means select all from the table. That will basically put every single bit of information that's in the table and display all of it. Now when we are searching for things, some databases are huge and they've got lots and lots of information, so we need to create something called a query, and that allows us to filter off information a bit more easily. So we can do this by using criteria for searches. The where statement is a condition, so it specifies a condition for a search. So we could do select star, which is select all from teachers, but then put a condition in. So where salary is greater than 25,000, and that will basically return just the values where it is above a certain amount. So that particular command from this table here will only return Patrick Stewart, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Mel Gibson. We can create some more complex searches by adding multiple criteria. So select star is select all from teachers, where salary is greater than 25,000 and department equals PE. So that's using a little bit of Boolean logic to say that both conditions need to be true. So the only one where PE and salary are both true for those conditions is Arnold Schwarzenegger. So we can sort data. When performing searches, we can display the results in sorted order. For example, you could have it in alphabetical order or numerical order. We can use the function order by to sort data into ascending or descending order. So in other words, if we look at this example, select star from teachers where salary is greater than 25,000, put order by salary descending. That will put all of the teachers with a salary of over 25,000 in descending order from highest to lowest. So it would be a good idea to learn and memorize all of the different commands that you see on this slide. So create a table, select, update, delete, insert into, from, where, like X, order by, and ascending and descending. So the only one we haven't looked at there is like X. If you put the word like and then start with a letter or a number of letters, it will show up similar results to that. So for example, you could say where surname like and put ROO, that would put all of the Rooneys that came up. But it would also show up any other surnames that are similar in the spelling. That's the end of the storing data video about databases and SQL.